Assalamu alaikum dear students, hope you are well and hearty. Welcome to NIEVS Homeschool. This is Fatema Sabrin, Shikha, Assistant Teacher of English, National Ideal English Version School, Morning Shift. Today I am going to take English second paper class for the students of class 6 on the topic voice. And today we will practice voice on present tense. I am repeating, today our topic is voice and we will practice on present tense. Students, this is our 8th lecture and 7th homework. I'm repeating, this is our 8th lecture and 7th homework. Students, please take your writing elements. We are going to learn about voice changing. So let's start. Our today's topic is voice. Students, do you know what is voice? Voice is the form of the verb which shows whether the subject does the work or something has been done to it. This is called voice, and we can divide voice into two parts. First one is active voice and second one is passive voice. First we have to know what is active voice. When a verb tells us something that a person or a thing does, it is called active voice. So when any verb will show us or tell us something that a person or a thing does, it is called active voice. And for example, we can say the most easiest sentence, I eat rice. Okay, now we'll learn what is passive voice. When a verb tells us something that is done to be a person or a thing is called passive voice. I'm repeating, when a verb tells us something that is done to be a person or a thing is called passive voice. And for example, we can say rice is eaten by me. Look, in first sentence of active voice, the subject is I. The work is done by the subject. And in second example of passive voice, the subject is rice and the subject can't do or can't solve the work. Now, students, we are going to learn the rules of changing active voice into passive. We know there are two types of voice, active voice and passive voice. We have to change, we have to know the rules of active voice to passive voice. So our first rule is the object of the active becomes the subject of the passive. Our first rule is the object of the active becomes the subject of the passive. Number 2, the subject of the active becomes the object of the passive. So first, the object will be subject in passive voice and the subject of active voice will be object in passive voice. Number 3, an auxiliary verb is used according to tense, number and person. So, according to tense, number and person, we have to use an auxiliary verb. Number 4, the past participle form of the given main verb. So, in active voice, there must be a main verb and we have to use the past participle form in passive voice. Number 5, the subject of the active is followed by. I'm repeating, the subject of the active is followed by. So for example, we can again use this. For active, I eat rice. And for passive, we can say rice is eaten by me. Students, look, according to our rule, we say for passive voice, we have to use object from active voice. So in active voice, the object is rice, and in passive voice we have used it as subject, and then we have to use an auxiliary verb. So rice is singular number, that's why we have to use is, we can't use are. And I eat rice, this is present simple tense or present indefinite tense, that's why we have to use is. Then past participle form of the verb eaten, then we have to use by, and then subject of active voice will be object in passive voice. In active voice, the subject is I, and in passive voice we have to write me. Now the question begins. You can ask me that means why you use me instead of I. In active voice, the subject is I, but you have written here me. Your question is absolutely correct. Now we'll learn how we'll change subject to object. Look students, here I have given the chart. In your chart, you'll know your answer. You'll find out your answer. We know that we can use subject as I, we, you, they, he, she, and any kind of name. This can be subject in any sentence. So I, we, you, they, he, she, they are pronoun, and here I have written William, Johnny. They are noun. Any name is called noun. So noun and pronoun can only be subject. So if we find this type of words in any sentence, we can easily identify that they are subject. So if you have to change your sentence from active to passive and subject to object, you can follow this. I will be me in passive voice. So I is subject. For object you have to write me. We, you have to write us. You will be you in passive voice as object. They will be them. He will be him. She will be her. And here William will be William. Johnny will be Johnny. For name there will be no change while making it passive. So if you find these pronouns, you have to change as object in passive voice like this, and for noun there will be no change. Now students, we will do or learn voice on present tense. So for this you have to know the using of auxiliary verb. So now we are going to learn the rules of using the auxiliary verb. As I said, we will practice on present tense. We will learn about present indefinite, present continuous, and present perfect. So for present indefinite tense, we have to choose am, is, are. If the subject is singular, then we have to use is, and if the subject is plural, we have to use am and are. We have to use I am, he is, they are. Okay, next present continuous tense. And for present continuous tense, we have to use am being, is being, are being. We have to add being. For present indefinite, we use am, is, are, and for present continuous tense, after am, is, are, we have to add being. Am being, is being, are being. So, am being, I am being, he is being, they are being, or we are being. Like this, we have to choose verb according to the tense. And last, present perfect tense. And for present perfect tense, we can use has been, have been as auxiliary verb. We have to use has been, have been if the sentence is in present perfect tense. Now students, we will practice present tense of voice and form of the passive auxiliary verb plus past participle form of the main verb. We'll practice or learn some sentences based on present indefinite tense. So first, simple present tense. We are talking about simple present tense, and we know that for simple present tense we can use am, is, are. So look, our given sentence for active voice is he eats rice. Students, look, he eats rice. This sentence belongs to simple present tense. As it is simple present tense, while making a passive voice or changing a passive voice, we have to choose the verb according to the subject. We know the rule of voice. What we have to do, first we have to select or identify the object of active voice. Here, in the active sentence, the object is rice. The object is rice, and this object will be subject in present tense. This object will be subject in present tense. So I have written here rice, then rice. The word rice is singular or plural? This is singular. So for singular subject, we have to write singular verb. We can't write rice are, rice am. From present indefinite tense, we have to choose a verb. So it must be is, as the subject is singular. So we have written rice is. Then this is present indefinite or present continuous. We know this is present continuous because the structure of present continuous is subject plus am is are plus verb with ing then object. So here we find this is the structure of present continuous tense, and that's why we have to add being with the verb am is are. As we have written is, we have to write being here. Rice is been. Rice is being, then we have to use the past participle form of the main verb of active sentence. So here in active sentence we find the verb eating, then we have to use the word eaten. Then we have to use eaten. Then we have to add by and then object. Then as we say in present simple tense, we use subject, rice, then is, then past participle form of the verb, then by plus object for present indefinite tense. And for present continuous tense, we use same subject plus is being, then past participle form of the verb, then by plus object. He will be him. He will be him. Next, present perfect tense. The sentence is he has eaten rice. He has eaten rice. So to change it into passive, we have to write the subject first. Rice here. Rice will be, rice is object in active voice and it will be subject of passive voice. Then we have to use has been or have been. As rice is singular, we have to use has been. We have to use has been, then past participle form of the verb, then by plus object. Students, to make it easy, I am writing here, look, I have written here A means active, P means passive. As we have talked about your rules of passive voice, there are 5 basic rules of passive voice. So first, what we have to do, we have to identify the object of active voice. Object of active voice. And this object will be subject in passive voice. Our first rule is object will be subject. That means object of active voice will be subject in passive voice. Then we have to use auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb. Then we have to use auxiliary verb. And this auxiliary verb must be based on the subject. Based on your subject, you have to choose an auxiliary verb. Then you have to use main verb. You have to choose main verb from active voice. In active voice, there must be a main verb and you have to write the past participle form of that main verb. Of that main verb, it means if you find eat, then it will be eaten, play will be played. So our first rule is subject will be object, then auxiliary verb, then past participle form of the main verb. Then you have to use by as preposition, and then you have to identify the subject of active voice. You have to identify the subject of active voice and it will be object in passive voice. Students, I am repeating. First you have to identify the object of active voice and you have to make it as subject in passive voice. Then according to subject you have to use an auxiliary verb according to tense, number and person. And number 3, you have to identify the main verb of the active voice and you have to use the past participle form of the main verb in passive voice. Then you have to use by as preposition. Then you have to take the subject from active voice and you have to write the object form in passive voice. So these are the 5 rules of active to passive voice. If you remember this, it will be easy for you. And students, you have to remember, you have to memorize the subject and object, the chart of subject and object with the tense. with the tense because you have to choose verb for auxiliary verb. Using auxiliary verb, these two charts are important for knowing voice or changing voice. Now students, I have written here two sentences. Look, first sentence is he has visited my house. This is an active sentence or active voice. So first, he is subject, has visited, has is here auxiliary verb, and visited is main verb. My house, this one is object. We find subject, auxiliary verb, main verb and object in active voice. So to make it or change it into passive, what we have to do? According to our rule, we have to take the object from active voice, and the object is my house. So we have to write my house here. Because my house is noun here, we don't have to change. If we find I, you, they, he, she, then we have to change it for object. But the object is my house, it is noun, we will directly write this as subject. I am writing my house. My house. Students, this is singular number, and in active voice, this is in present perfect tense, has visited. So this sentence belongs to present perfect tense. We have to choose an auxiliary verb. So how could we choose an auxiliary verb? We have to think about the subject. My house. My house is singular. So what will be the verb? Students, come here. Present perfect tense. We say for present perfect tense, we have to choose has been or have been. We have to choose has been or have been. If the subject is singular, then we have to choose has been, and if the subject is plural, then we have to choose have been. So our subject is my house. This is singular. We have to write here has been. My house has been. Then we know we have to use past participle form of the verb. Here visited, this is the past participle form of the word visit. We have to write visited. My house has been visited. Then we have to use preposition by. We have to use preposition by, and the subject of active voice will be object of passive voice. So what is the subject of active voice? This is he. So he will be, students, can you guess? He will be, look, come to this chart. We have learned that he will be he. If the subject is he in active voice, while making it passive, we have to write him. So here in this sentence, we have to write him. My house has been visited by him. The passive form of this given sentence will be my house has been visited by him. Another sentence, the teacher teaches us Bangla. I am repeating, the teacher teaches us Bangla. So first we have to identify subject, verb, object. Here we find the teacher. This one is subject. Teaches. Teaches is main verb. Teaches is main verb. And look, us, Bangla. Here we find double object. Bangla and us. Us is object. Bangla is also object. This called double object, and this called double object. If you find double object in any active sentence, then you can choose anyone. You can choose anyone as subject. So if we write, if we will do with us as subject. So in active voice, us is object. So us will be, can you understand? Us will be we. Look, us, in this chart, us is object. So if we turn it, it will be we. So us will be we here. We. Now students, can you guess the sentence of active voice. Which tense is it? The teacher teaches us Bangla. This is in present indefinite tense or present simple tense. So for present tense, we have to use or choose am, is, are. From these three, we have to choose one. So our subject is we. Our subject is we. This is plural subject, and that's why we have to write are. We are. As it is in present indefinite tense, we have to choose are based on subject. We are. Then we have to use the past participle form of the main verb that is given in active voice. That means teaches. Teaches, the verb teach. And what is the past participle form of the verb teaches? Do you know, students? Taught. Taught is the past participle form of the verb teach. We are taught. T-A-U-G-H-T, taught. Then we have to choose this portion, Bangla, the extra word. We are taught Bangla. Then by, preposition by the teacher. We are taught Bangla by the teacher. Students, if we think that us is object in this sentence, then the passive will be we are taught Bangla by the teacher. And as I said, you can choose anyone as subject. So if we choose Bangla as subject for passive voice, what will be the sentence of passive? So first we have to choose Bangla as object of active sentence, and Bangla will be subject in passive voice. So I have written here Bangla, and as Bangla, this is the name of subject, it is singular. So we have to write Bangla is. Bangla is. Then past participle form of the verb. Past participle form of the verb teach is taught. T-A-U-G-H-T. Taught. Bangla is taught. Then we have to write the extra us. Bangla is taught us. Then we have to use preposition by. Then subject will be object. Subject is the teacher, so we have to write for object the teacher. The teacher. Bangla is taught us by the teacher. Both the sentences are correct. You can write in any way. I'm repeating again, if you find double object in any sentence of active, while changing it, you can take anyone as your subject of passive voice. So students, please, I'm requesting you keep memorizing these charts at home. If you memorize this, it will be helpful for you. Now look, I have given here some sentences. Change the following active voices into passive. First one, I have given 6 sentences, and first one is she teaches us English. Second one, they are flying kites. Number 3, the girl has completed the work. Number 4, I have written a poem. Number 5, Mr. Ben speaks the truth. Number 6, boys are playing cricket. Students, these 6 sentences will be your homework. I'm repeating, these 6 sentences of voice will be your homework. And don't forget to write the lecture number and homework number at the top of the corner of your copy. Lecture number is 8 and homework number is 7. Students, please read these rules again and again. Do your homework and practice more. If you practice more and more, this topic will be easy for you. You will be comfortable while answering in your examination. Please do your homework and don't forget to submit your homework copies on every Saturday. Guardians or anyone else can submit your homework copies. That's all for today. Hope you have understood today's topic. Keep practicing at home and abide by your parents. Stay well and see you again. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.